Hello, this is Wmpyr. Here to talk about knife combat, okay, for the purpose of self-defense, okay. And, in Kia, Kali, Escrima, Arnis, we learn pretty much a complete system, okay. So it has A to Z, all right. And I mean that's all wonderful and everything, but at that point, I would like people to understand that that is like an encyclopedia. And if you study it fully and you acquire A through Z, that's like buying a full, complete encyclopedia set, which is fantastic. But that doesn't mean that you could use it in real life. That doesn't mean that you're ready to use it in real life. Okay, so in order for that to happen, you have to just because you've acquired all that knowledge, that's not really how this works. And I believe for any martial arts style, this is the case. It's not just about acquiring all that knowledge, and in order to acquire certain knowledge, you have to also acquire the skill to be able to understand the knowledge. So then people confuse that as, okay, so now I have some skill, therefore I'm ready to go use it. No, that skill that you have there was for the purpose of knowledge collecting. And once again, that doesn't mean that you are combat ready. So then the question is, what do you need? What do you need to be combat ready? And in that situation, I believe that you need to make this into an interface. So what I've been saying to you guys is that um, having a bunch of techniques, a bag of tricks, right, will always be inferior to someone who has a full-blown system, right? So you have a whole game plan that tells you exactly what to do, compared to a bunch of techniques, and then in a real life situation you just trying to use, I think this is the right technique to use at this point, I think this is a good move, it's one of my favorites, I'm going to do this technique. Rather than doing something like that, you have a method, right, like a game plan. So I've always said the game plan is superior. What's even more superior to that, and is even better than that to me, is an interface. So what that interface, what that means, the interface means interaction. So it was your interaction with the martial arts training that you received. And if that interface was realistic, then I believe you are ready. You're going to be combat ready. And that's been my whole goal, is to create that interface. Okay. So this time around, I recently told you guys is that my student over in Japan got his black belt from me. And that exam that he took, he said that I really, really appreciate the actual exam. He said that he felt like he learned and experienced things that was very valuable to him. So to me, that is an interface, that he got a good interface, and that's going to help him in the future if he's ever in a bad situation, based off of that experience from, that he did. So um, and for me, part of that interface is for you guys to experience. And I said I've done the experiments to tell me, like for instance, one of the first things I want to tell you guys is the force to force block is, that's super important, that technique. And that technique, I found, me doing my own experiments, my own interface, right, is that when in a pinch, that's what came out. When I was attacked with my students, I asked them, hey, attack me, you know, and when they did and it caught me off guard, that's what came out. So I know that is natural for me. And then testing it out with other people, I found out that it was natural for a lot of other my students too. Therefore, it must be natural for many other people. And if you don't believe me, test it out. Test it out. And I believe this is the case for a lot of people. force to force block is extremely natural. So if you're ever in a situation where, you know, you got caught off guard and, whoa, what the heck? What? That's what's going to come out. You know, a bug's in your face, you naturally swat it. That's the force to force block. Okay. So lesson number 2 is I have a knife, they have a knife, and we fight. And I don't care what style, what skill, you know, we're both trying to outdo each other and, you know, outsmart each other, set each other up, and use fencing or knife boxing or whatever style it is, once again. And you're trying to do that. At the end of the day, you're both going to be a bloody mess. That's the truth. I mean, you could argue about, no, I cut him first. Yeah, you let's say you stab him in the neck first. Like the knife went through his neck, completely through his neck. Okay, what if he doesn't stop and he stabs you in the heart after that? So that's what I mean. So many people rely too much on the, no, I got you first. No, I made the fatal shot first, or my attacks are worse than what you did to me. Or they're playing that game, but in reality, you cannot ignore that you're both a bloody mess. And if you're not, if the other person wanted to, they could have made you into a bloody mess. So that cannot be ignored. So that's lesson number 2, vital lesson. All of these are vital lessons. Lesson number 3 is, this comes to defang the snake. When I tested out defang the snake, if you block the arm, they're trying to stab me. Let's say they're trying to do a sewing machine, right? So with a knife, they're trying to repeatedly stab me. I block them on the arm. I am going to get cut. I'm going to get stabbed. It's too close. So that cannot be ignored. I'm not saying defang the snake is wrong. I'm just saying that is something you have to experience. And until you experience that, you're living in another world thinking defang the snake is the answer to everything, or your expectations of defang the snake is completely wrong, in my opinion. So you have to have this valuable interface, this interaction, this experience in training. And once you get this experience, then you know, and it should change your game. And you should learn your lesson and modify whatever it is that you think about defang the snake, or your system, your game plan, or whatever. That should all be modified. Okay, so that is lesson number 3. Lesson number 4, the final one I want to share with you guys today, is when we go into close range. Okay, so in Filipino martial arts, we have something called lock flow. So from there, you could joint lock the guy, you could take them down, or you could do a disarm, take their knife away from them, right? So you're going into this kind of thing. You're going into close range. If you don't control their arm, the knife arm, you're going to die. It's that simple. And by control, what do I mean by control? You have to grapple. Period. No exceptions. You have to grapple it. You have to grab a hold of it solid. I mean, like grappling, not wrist grab. No, that's not enough. I mean grappling. Okay, with your whole body. So that's lesson number 4. So these 4 lessons cannot be ignored if you want a realistic interface, if you want a realistic program, so that you are ready to defend against the knife in real life. You know, if you want that, then these 4, what I just mentioned right now, cannot be ignored. And that's the problem. What I see today is everybody ignores it. They'll make all kinds of excuses. You know, well, I mean, in real life, when a knife is involved, you are going to get cut. They'll make excuses, and it's like, you cannot ignore these 4, and they're doing still same drills that completely ignore these 4 things that I've said to you guys. I've modified my drills that I learned from the A to Z, you know. I've modified them based off of these four. So to me, super, super important. When I'm going to go use these experiences, this interface that, these four lessons are critical. And that's what takes you to a level where you start to become combat ready. Because until then, you just have an encyclopedia and that's it. That don't mean anything, you know, as far as real life usage goes, you know. So I hope you guys can understand that. Like I could download a uh like a bunch of medical books, right? I could have a whole collection. I could have a library of medical books. Does that mean I'm a doctor? No, not at all. Not at all. So in order to become someone that can actually do first aid, you know, we got to head in that direction where we're actually working with a system, and you're working with, like if you take a first aid class, they start simulating and they go, okay, so this person's down, so what are you going to do? First signs, are they breathing right, or are they breathing at all? Has their heart stopped? What's going on? Examine, and then from there's a system that you got to do. Is it cardiac arrest? Are they choking? What's happening? So that almost has nothing to do with this library, is what I'm saying. Now, if you want detail, you want more explanations, you could go to the library, and that's wonderful. I'm not knocking it, but I'm just saying, as far as usage goes, that's a separate program. All right, so that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.